Good evening, friends. We have got one more capsules of investigation. Already we had detailed investigation. What is the principle of investigation and the foundations we had already discussed and we have uploaded in our YouTube. And then now we have got with another capsule where we will start from foundation. How, what is the scope of coverages which we have got? What we need to actually do during the investigation. So today we have got a new capsule of investigation where we will start with a subject called scope of policy. So in the scope of policy, what is covered, what is not covered, what is the exclusion, how to look at that for the purpose of investigation is something we will discuss. This is pertaining to own damage claim. So we are not discussing about theft at this point in time, but we will be talking about the own damage accidental case. And once we go to the basic objective of this particular session is that one, to understand the scope of policy. We need to really understand what is the scope of policy for us to do a thorough investigation. So that is the primary objective of giving the investigation to our companies and our agency. Secondly, identify the scope of standard coverage for different class of vehicles. We have got different classes. We have got goods carrying vehicle, we have got private vehicles, we have got two-wheelers. How do we identify the scope and understand what it is? So let's move on. So if you see the coverage, what is covered and which particular things are excluded is something we will see in this slide. One is the physical hazard. Any damages to the vehicle physically, which can visibly can be seen, like for example accident, damages to the vehicle, then the theft. So these are all physical hazard. What is natural hazard? Flood, typhoon, hurricane, so indentation, these are all comes under natural hazard. What is social hazard which is covered? Social hazard is something to do with terrorism, it could be riots, it could be some malicious damage. So these are all covered. Now what is excluded? Exclusions which is there, which is very expressly mentioned here, is negligence. Negligence is covered, gross negligence is not covered. So therefore, gross negligence, when we say, we will, while we come discuss about a particular case study, we can discuss about that in detail. Now let's understand what is moral hazard. So moral hazard is something to do with humans. Okay, some intention, a bad intention to make a claim, to make a profit out of a claim, which is not covered as per the policy. So that is where we are existing. That is why the cases are being allotted to us, and then we are supposed to identify whether there is a moral hazard which is involved, which is a fraudulent claim, how the fraud is being attempted, what is the kind of, how do we reconstruct the entire episode is something the investigation team has to do. Let's go further and understand a little more in depth about the policy wordings. So each policy has got some scope. So there is a scope, there is, based on the scope, there is trigger points. So let's understand what is the scope of it. One, there is two kinds of policy. One is a liability policy and there is a package policy. So what is liability policies? You might have already come across this, but it could be a repetition that you are hearing the same thing again, but that's fine. It's nothing wrong in refreshing the same thing which you have done. Liability policy is something for which a first party or the second party is liable to. So what is that liability? Some injuries happens to a third party. Who is third party? First party is the insurance company, second party is the insured, third party is somebody other than these two parties. Whosoever is the third party, they are all third parties. For example, a pedestrian is a third party to your vehicle. Similarly, a compound wall is a third party property. So the coverage here, if you see, third party liability, any bodily injuries, anyone killed in the accident due to our negligence, those are all covered in the liability policy. So the policy wordings are common across all class of business. It is a very clearly defined and it's a mandatory policy for any motor vehicle which is plying on the public roads. So this is mandatory, so it is there. And the limitation of use, the exclusions are limitation of use and the driver class. So what it means that even if it is a third party damage or an injury which happens, the driver who is driving the vehicle has to comply with the driving clause. What is the driver's clause? As per section 3 of Motor Vehicle Act, the driver clause is that a person who is driving the vehicle should have a valid and effective Indian driving license. So we are talking about Indian context, so we are saying that he should possess a driving license. If he's got a learner's license, if he's got an LLR, then what he has to do, he should be accompanied by a driving license, effective and valid driving license, person who should be sitting besides him, or if it is a two-wheeler, he should be the pillion rider. So this is the section 3, that is what is the driver clause, which is also expressly mentioned in the policy wordings. Limitation of use. What is limitation of use? If the particular vehicle is there to be used for personal use, so we have got a private car. If I use that Ertiga, I got an Ertiga. If I use that Ertiga for commercial purpose, carrying people, I use as a taxi, then that is an exclusion as per this policy. So this is all in sum and substance. This is liability. You people must be aware. Still, I am explaining this package policy. What is package policy? Package policy is a policy which is a comprehensive policy. So the policy covers the vehicle, the damages to the vehicle, which we already saw in the earlier slide, saying physical hazard, moral hazard, or moral hazard is excluded, physical hazard, or any social hazards which is there. So these are all certain things which is covered. So the damages to the vehicle also is covered. The damages to the third party also it is covered. That is why it is package policy or a comprehensive policy. The policy wording and coverage differs slightly between class of vehicles. If it is a two-wheeler, the policy wordings differs. If it is a four-wheeler, that is a private car, the policy wordings are little different compared to the two-wheeler. If it is a commercial vehicle, there is a lot of difference. There is many differences which we need to understand. We can see limitation of use and the driver clause, which is an exclusion, remains the same, whether it is liability or a package policy. Yes. So broad categories we can see. So it is the same thing. If you see for two-wheelers, there is a package policy, liability only policy where it is available across for all the vehicles, whether it is commercial vehicle, private car or a two-wheeler, you got liability policy across. For a commercial vehicle, there is also a package policy as well as a liability policy. So from the picture, you can easily see that these are the four categories which are available. Let's move on. So, what is the scope for liability only policy? This is very important. Why an insurance company wants us to investigate a case? The main purpose of investigating a case is to understand what is the coverage and if the customer has complied with that coverage is what we have to check. So if there is something which is outside the purview of the policy or the coverage, then that is questionable, that needs to be established, for which we do the investigation. Let's understand this. Third party injury or death and third party property damage. So we call TPI or TPD or TPPD. So these are the short terms for that. You see, insured's legal liability arising out of use of vehicle towards a third parties are paid as mentioned in the policy terms and conditions. So what they are saying is, if the insured by negligence, by gross negligence or whatever reason, he hit some pedestrian or he hits another vehicle, due to which the person who is riding or driving the other vehicle gets injured, he can claim on us, for which the policy covers the liability arising out of this accident. The liability is unlimited. As far as the TP, injury and death, is concerned, the liability is unlimited. But the recent amendment which was made in 2019 in Motor Vehicle Act has got some new amendments where the limitations, they have got limitations for death case and grievous injuries. So that is another vast subject. We need to go through it completely. So now from April 1st, 2022 onwards, this amendment is going to get executed, or it is going to come into force. So that is going to change the entire thing. So it will not be any more unlimited TP, injury and death. The liability covered herein is as per the requirement of MV Act 1988. So now that is an amendment 2019, MV Act 2019. That's what will come there. But the point is, they are going as per the Motor Vehicle Act they are covering. Okay, the policy covers the following things. So this is something which is very important that you need to understand. One, the death, accident, if there is an accident due to which if there is a death or an injury of a third party, then that is covered. Damage to any property of a third party, compound wall or any shops if it is damaged, the limit is up to 6,000. However, the policy provision is that it will go up to 7,50,000 by paying an extra premium. You can enhance this to 7,50,000 from 6,000. So the legal cost as awarded. So to contest this case in the MACT, Motor Accident Claims Tribunal, there is a legal cost also which is involved for paying the defense lawyer. So that legal cost is also taken care by this policy. Okay, and employees covered as per the limits in WC or Employee Compensation or Workmen Compensation Act 1923. So that is also covered as per this policy. The cost and expenses incurred by insured subject to written consent from the company. So by chance there is an accident and there is some cost involved for which the insured has to pay upfront. However, such cost, if there is a consensus from the insurance company saying that okay, you can go, a written consent. Written consent could be a mail which is sent from the insurance company, yes, you can go ahead and pay this much of amount. Such consensus which is given, and that amount also is reimbursable. Okay, so we have got one more leg to this liability cover, which is called personal accident coverage. The policy also provides a personal accident cover to a owner driver. So he should be a owner cum driver. For such person, there is a provision to there is a coverage for that. Nominal compensation to the insured. So there is a fixed amount, or there is amount which is agreed upon. It is 2 lakh or 1 lakh rupees. In two-wheeler, it is 1 lakh, I think. So coverage applicable only if the policy in individual's name. If it is a company's policy, they are saying that coverage, owner cum driver coverage also is not applicable. Yeah. So the maximum compensation under PA, motor PA is 1 lakh for two-wheelers, as I told you, and 2 lakhs for other than two-wheelers, whether it is provided, the vehicle should be in the individual's name, it should not be in any company's name. The scale of compensation is there. So this is there. Now there is an amendment which has also gone through this. So we need to refer to that. So this is prior to 2019. So after 2019 there is some amendments which has happened. So we need to read accidental death. What is the compensation? 100% compensation will be given. What it means is that there is a 2 lakh rupees for a private car. Now 2 lakhs, if there is an accident death to the owner cum driver, 100%, that is 2 lakhs will be paid to that person, the nominee. So loss of 2 limbs, sight of 2 eyes, one limb and one eye, in these cases also 100% coverage, 100% compensation is given. Permanent total disability, where a person loses one of his limbs, whether it is a upper limb or a lower limb, then 50% of compensation is provided. Okay, so these are the compensation as far as the PA is concerned. Claim payable even if the death or disability happens later. In the sense, after the accident, if the death happens later, he is hospitalized and he is recovered, and then there is a death to that person, then also the claim is payable. But it should not be later than 6 months. The timelines to claim that such a compensation is 6 months from the date of accident. So this needs to be underlined. So when you are asked to do a motor PA case, it is very important to know the date of accident and the date of claim he is making. When did he actually submitted his claim form to the insurance company is also very vital. Now another point is claim is payable even if the owner is traveling in the vehicle as co-driver or whilst he is mounting or dismounting from the vehicle. So this is very important point. So many times we come to a misconception that the PA cover is for owner come driver, so he should be in the driving seat. That's not the criteria. Even if he is sitting co-driver, he is traveling in his own car, then the accident happens and there is a death or an injury, these compensation are applicable for such kind of scenarios also. Also, very important thing is, while I am mounting a vehicle, I just open the door, I am trying to get inside the vehicle, I fall and my head is injured, then because of that I get into coma and there is a death. Even that, in that situation, it is the compensation is payable. Similarly, I am inside the car, I am trying to get out of the vehicle and suddenly I slip and fall down and there is a major injury to my head and I get into coma or I lose one side, I get paralysis. So even that, the compensation is payable. Again, this is a little, we have put it in tabular. What are the things, what are the type of liability? In each class of business, whether it is covered or not covered, if it is not applicable, why it is not applicable. We'll just quickly go through this. Legal liability of owner towards injury or death of a third party. As per Motor Vehicle Act, unlimited arising out of the use of vehicle. So this is for the third party, injury or death. So whether it is covered in two-wheeler, yes, it is covered. In private cars also it is covered. In commercial vehicles also it is covered, provided if he is taken the policy. Now, there are driver, cleaner, conductors, loaders, unloaders who are also traveling along with the vehicle. So in what kind of vehicles, type of vehicles this is covered? In two-wheeler, there is no such scenario. Okay, in private cars, if he is a paid driver, then there is a coverage. So that will come under WC or Employees Act, which we saw. Now, how it is covered? See, for example, I have got a car which is pertaining to, or it is registered under our company's name. I am driving the vehicle as an employee. So if there is something which goes wrong or some accident for which I am claiming, I have to claim through WC, Employees Act. So that's what it is. And commercial vehicle, definitely all the parties who are working, loaders, unloaders, cleaners who are traveling in a commercial vehicle, they are all covered. Legal liability to other employees of the insured traveling in and or driving the employer's vehicle. That's what is me, which I told you. So there is an insured and there is a paid driver. Okay, the owner is not driving the vehicle, he is employed a driver, so they all will fall under this category. So it is covered as per the WC Act. Even in two-wheelers, private cars covered as per the WC Act. So in two-wheelers, how it is covered? So if we'll have to quickly give you an example. For example, We have got Swiggy's, we have got Domino Pizzas. Domino's Pizza is got their own vehicle, branded vehicle with all those blue colors, and then it is branded. It is given to the employee who is a delivery boy. So something happens to the delivery boy, they will be covered under this legal liability to other employees of the insured traveling in and driving the employee's vehicle. So that's how the two-wheeler it is covered. Four-wheelers, commercial vehicle, obviously it is covered. So what is a exclusion? If the vehicle, commercial vehicles carrying passenger for hire and reward are covered under the legal liability. For example, commercial vehicle, passenger carrying vehicle. So you got a Tata 407 Tempo Travelers, wherein it's a 12-seater or 14-seater vehicle. Such vehicles, even the passengers who are there inside the vehicle are also covered under this policy. So that is applicable only for commercial vehicles, not for private cars. Okay. So legal liability to the passenger, it is not applicable to private car, it is not applicable to two-wheeler, but yes, it is applicable to commercial vehicles. Damages to third-party property. In all the three policies, category of policies, it is covered. It is covered in two-wheeler also, it's covered in private cars and commercial vehicles. Now, legal cost awarded by the tribunal, it is all covered under the policy. In all the three policies, it is covered, whether it is two-wheeler, private car or commercial vehicle. Legal cost and expenses incurred by the insured with written consent, yes, it is covered, provided they take a written consent from the insurance company. Personal accident cover, owner cum driver, yes, it is covered in all the three policy, but for two-wheeler, it is limited. The compensation is limited to 1 lakh. Otherwise, in commercial and private cars, it is 2 lakhs. Okay. Towing of disabled vehicle. Towing of disabled vehicle. There is a major accident to a vehicle, and it cannot start, and we cannot move the vehicle. In that situation, it is towed by a towing van. That coverage is there only for commercial vehicle, not for any other vehicles. So what we are talking about is it's the same coverage which we said in two-wheeler package, how it is there. So these are the three: section 1, section 2 and section 3. It's just a synopsis of the previous slides. Loss or damage to the vehicle, insured vehicle, liability to third party, and personal accident cover for insured owner cum driver. Yeah. So now this is important. What is covered? It's very important slide. What exactly is covered? We just saw broad scope of coverage, physical hazard, moral hazard. We were talking about the other social hazards which is there, and act of God which we are talking about. Now in this, each one is defined very clearly. So if there is a damage to the vehicle due to fire, explosion or self-ignition or lightning, all these things are covered under the policy. So what will be explained, or what is the expectation from the investigators, from the insurance company is, we need to clearly establish that the damage to the vehicle is due to this. If it is due to these things, like for example, burglary or theft. What is burglary? Burglary is trying to steal something from the vehicle, break open the doors, and then they are trying to steal the stereo systems, they are trying to steal some components of the vehicle. So those things are covered. Theft is what? You leave the doors open, or you lock it, an entire vehicle is stolen. So that is theft. So there is no breakage or nothing happens, but it has been stolen completely. You left the car's key open, you left the keys inside the vehicle and somebody stole it. That is theft, but it comes under gross negligence. So the policy also states that insured has to take adequate steps to safeguard his vehicle, his insured property. If that is not done and there is a theft which has happened, it is construed as gross negligence. So next is malicious damage. What is this malicious damage? So we are parking in this area. Our parking area is a busy marketplace. It's a lot of footfalls are there in this parking place. So there could be some child who's trying to scratch and damage the vehicle. That could be a malicious act. So anything which is created by a human is called malicious act. To put it in a nutshell, any damages which is created by a social element or human beings is called malicious act. So that comes under malicious act. What is natural calamity? Natural calamities could be or act of God. Act of God, for example, flood. Suddenly there are 3 days of heavy rain in Chennai or any other Odisha. So we got heavy rainfall. Suddenly it started flooding all over. So your vehicle got flooded in that. So that is natural calamity. So there is an earthquake and then you have problem. That is also considered as a natural calamity. Landslide or rock slide. So we find this in Uttarakhand where there is complete thing is gone and there is a lot of properties which is getting damaged, vehicles getting damaged. So that's covered. While in transit by road, rail, inland, waterway, lift, elevator or air. So what we are trying to say is you are shifting your vehicle from Delhi to Bangalore by water, by ship, then there is a damage while shifting during the transit if there is a damage. So that damage is also covered. If you are shifting it by road, you drive down all the way from Delhi or Bombay. While shifting, if there is a damage to the vehicle, so that is also covered here. By terrorist act, so we all know that very common or prominent example was your Bombay shootouts which has happened. During that time, Taj, it was occupied and a lot of properties were damaged. During that course, if there is any damages which is happening to the vehicle, even that is covered. In Raipur, Chhattisgarh, we have got this Naxalite problems. Due to this Naxalite attack, if there is some damages to our vehicle, that is also covered in this policy. Accident due to external means. Accident due to external means what? So, I go and bang a tree and there is a damage to the external portion of the vehicle. Due to external means, the damages are happening. That is covered. Any other vehicle comes and bangs in my vehicle. It is an external thing. So the question here is then what is excluded? What is that an investigator has to look into? If they have expressly mentioned by accident due to external means, then accident due to internal means is not covered. So, for example, there is a big boulder which is being carried or a big iron rod which is very big dia is carried in a commercial vehicle. The vehicle keeps on moving, suddenly there is a brake. He applies brake. Due to sudden brake, the boulder or the iron metal comes and hits the cabin is damaged. So this is construed as not payable or not admissible because the damage has happened due to internal means, not due to external means. So that's how you need to interpret the policy conditions, what is covered, what is not covered, and then accordingly we need to have a line of investigation which has to be done. So let's limit our discussion only to the coverage. So and then move on. Earthquake, riots and strike. If there is a strike, and due to which due to the aggravation in the strike, people damage a bus. They put the buses on fire. They put vehicles on fire. Those things are also covered. So this is a coverage wherein all the policies are covered. It's a comprehensive policy. All these things are covered in this comprehensive policy. Now, partial losses are paid subject to depreciation on parts replaced as per the depreciation chart. So, there is a chart which is there in the tariff, motor tariff. So, that has to be referred to. So, what is the depreciation? Total loss or constructive total loss, the IDV is paid less the value of salvage and excess. So, this is broadly the coverage of comprehensive policy. This applies for two-wheeler. Now let's move on. So section 1, what is excluded? The following are not paid in this policy or in this section 1. These are all not covered. What is not covered? Consequential loss, wear and tear, mechanical or electrical failures or breakdowns. Loss or damages to accessories alone are not paid. So, meaning what? The meaning of that is that if you got an accessory which has been part of the vehicle, if only the accessory is damaged, it is not payable. If the accessory is damaged along with the vehicle, then that is covered. For example, if you like to give you that example, say for example, you put a spoiler. The spoiler alone is got damaged due to something. So then that is not covered, that's what they are saying. Whereas, if it is damaged along with the car, roof or the bonnet, then that's covered. Damages due to tires and tubes alone is not covered. So, only the damages to because it is getting exposed, it is going on different terrains, it gets into potholes and all those stuff. So therefore, the tariff excludes only the damages to the tires and tube. If it is damaged with other parts of the vehicle, you go and bang and then the wheel is also damaged along with that, then that is covered. Loss or damages occurring when the driver is under the influence of alcohol or drugs, is intoxicated, then that is not covered. So the person who is driving the car or the bike or the commercial vehicle, if he is intoxicated, when we are saying intoxicated, it could be drugs which is got inculcated inside or is just induced inside, or is drunk and due to which he is not in his original state of mind. So those things are all not covered under this policy. So let's see what is the coverages as per the section 2. So just to sum up, the comprehensive policy has got 3 sections. The first section is the coverages to the property, the insured property. What is insured property? In this case, it is the vehicle. So we saw what and all is covered. What is not covered expressly, which is mentioned, we have also seen. So let's move on to the section 2, which is the liability coverage. So it's the liability to third parties. Okay. Presently the liability is unlimited. I said please correct it from 2022 April onwards. There is some changes in the liability as far as the third party injury under this cover. The liability covered herein is as per the requirement of MV Act. So the Act has been changed. The Motor Vehicle Act has been changed. So the section we were all following 163. Now there is one more 164 which is coming. So that's another detailed subject which needs to be discussed. So let's move on. Insured's legal liability arising out of the use of the vehicle towards third party are paid as mentioned in the policy terms and schedule. Yeah. Now a little detail what is covered, which we already saw in that summary earlier. What is covered in the two-wheelers and four-wheelers and commercial vehicle. Now this coverage we are seeing, it is a two-wheeler package policy, section 2. What is covered expressly mentioned? Insured's legal liability for death or bodily injury of the third party is covered. Damage to third party property limiting to 6,000 rupees, but it can be enhanced. In this case, it is 1 lakh rupees, whereas in a four-wheeler policy, you can go up to 7,50,000. Restricts the cover to statutory limit. Statutory limit expects you to have 6,000 rupees, the discontinued premium allowed, so that is not material to us. Legal cost, we know that it is covered. Cost and expenses incurred by the insured, subject to written consent from the company. So that is also covered. So now we have got the section 3. So this is the third portion of the policy, which is a personal accident coverage for insured cum driver. So in this, if you see what is covered, the policy also provides personal accident cover for owner cum driver. And we have already seen the table. What will be the compensation? As far as two-wheeler is concerned, the limit is 1 lakh rupees. Up to 1 lakh, the owner cum driver is covered. And there is a nominal compensation to the insured. Cover holds good only when the policy is in individual's name. So if it is a company's policy, this coverage is not applicable. If it is an individual policy where the vehicle is registered in an individual name, then this coverage is effective. And very important thing is that the insured cum driver cover, owner cum driver cover, the owner should possess a valid and effective driving license. If the person doesn't have a driving license and something happens to him during the accident, then there is no coverage. So this is very important for the investigators to know that, if there is an accident to the owner cum driver, and if the owner doesn't possess a DL, valid and effective driving license, then this is not payable. This compensation is not payable. Yeah. So let's see. Let's move on. So we have already seen this, what is payable, and the compensation after the date of accident within 6 months he needs to claim this. Otherwise, again, this compensation is not admissible or it is not payable. Now let's see quickly what happens in a private car. Okay, it is the same thing. Same section 1, section 2, section 3 remains the same, similar to two-wheeler, which you have already seen. Let's move. So here we will only see what is that additional covers which is paid. Apart from the two-wheelers coverage which we see, apart from that, what is the additional coverages which are paid in a four-wheeler policy or a private car policy? The list of perils covered are same as mentioned in two-wheeler policy. So it is the same coverage, typhoon, all this hurricane, theft, burglary, accident due to external means, everything is covered the way it is covered in two-wheeler. So the same coverage is applicable. Treatment of partial loss and total loss remains the same as we discussed in two-wheeler. Vehicle disabled, removal to the nearest garage is rupees 1,500 is paid instead of 500 rupees. Okay. Partial theft is covered in private car. Okay. Partial theft is covered, whereas in two-wheeler, partial theft is not covered. For example, two-wheeler is there, somebody removes the rear wheel and somebody steals the wheel, or two mirrors are removed and then they are taken. So that coverage is not there in two-wheeler, whereas it is applicable in the cars. Section 2, the scope of cover is the same as in two-wheeler. Third-party coverage, as I told you earlier, the coverage can be enhanced to 7.5 lakhs by paying an additional premium. Discount in premium is allowed if cover restricts to statutory limit of 6,000 rupees. Section 3. Section 3 remains the same as in two-wheeler, only difference is the maximum compensation is 2 lakhs, whereas in two-wheeler it is just 1 lakh rupees. Okay. Commercial vehicle, we have got another section added. Section 4 and 3 are little different, if you can see. Section 1, again OD, own damage portion is covered. Section 2, third party liability coverages is there. And section 3, we are saying towing of the disabled vehicle. Okay, is the difference when you compare to two-wheeler and four-wheeler. And section 4, personal accident coverage for owner cum driver is also covered. Yeah, list of perils covered as in two-wheeler, it is the same thing. Same thing is covered in commercial vehicle also. Treatment of partial loss and total loss are the same, the way we saw in two-wheelers. Okay, there are something which is not covered. What is that not covered? It is mentioned here. Loss or damage to lamps. If the headlamps is damaged to a commercial vehicle, it is not covered. Tires, tubes, if it is damaged, mudguard is damaged, bonnet is damaged, it is not covered. And bonnet side parts, bonnet side parts, not bonnet, bonnet side parts is fender. The mudguards which is there, side parts is not covered, bumper is not covered, paint work is not covered. Taxis and motorized two-wheelers are exempted from this exclusion. So, if it is a taxi, which is also coming under commercial vehicle segment, but this thing for taxi it is applicable. This is only for commercial vehicles other than taxis and two-wheelers. Consequential loss, wear and tear, any which ways, that is an exclusion in two-wheelers also, in four-wheelers, as well as in this commercial vehicle. Damage to tire and tubes only without any other damage to IV also is excluded. Otherwise also it is excluded. Driver under the influence, it is excluded. If the vehicle is disabled or removed to the nearest garage, if there is a breakdown because of the accident, so moving it to the nearest garage or workshop. So this is for three-wheelers they pay 750. Three-wheelers is auto rickshaw, which is used for commercial purpose, passenger carrying, or it is for goods carrying. Both 750 rupees is the limit which they pay. And for taxis they pay 1,500 rupees. And for major commercial vehicle like you see trucks, dumpers, tippers, 2,500 rupees is paid. Vehicle repaired by themselves. So I have got some damage, some accident. If I do small repair, I can drive the vehicle to the nearest garage. So that kind of cost is limited to 500 rupees. Up to 500 rupees you can work on the vehicle. You can repair the vehicle on the spot and you can take it to the nearest garage. Okay, section 2, it's all the cost is the same. They pay the legal expenses, they pay everything. So what is covered? Legal liability, including claim costs, everything is paid. Legal liability is unlimited for a third party injury or death. We have already seen that in the previous slides. And liability coverage is as per the Motor Vehicle Act, amended one, which is 2019. So policy covers third party, including person associated with loading and unloading. So in private car, you didn't see this, but in commercial vehicle, there are people who are loading the goods and they travel along with the vehicle. They go and deliver the goods, they unload the goods. So during this time, during this travel, or there is an accident and there is injuries or death, which is getting person is getting injured or is getting killed in the accident, what happens is there is a coverage for those people also. So that's additional thing compared to a private car. Third party coverage we have already seen. For a four-wheeler or a private car, it can be enhanced to 7.5 lakhs. Similarly, here also it can be enhanced. What is not liable? Death, bodily injury or damage happening beyond the limit of carriage. What it means. So this is a very important point which when it comes to scope of coverage, you say an Ertiga taxi. An Ertiga is used as a taxi, registered as a taxi. The seating capacity is only 7. If somebody takes additional passenger, if they take 10 passenger and if there is an accident, then that is not covered. And the persons in course of employment of insured except as per the MV Act. So it has been very clearly defined. You have to carry and use the vehicle for that purpose only. If it is beyond that limit, then it is not covered. In respect of workman compensation, the liability as per the policy standards limited to provisions in the Act. So there is an Act, WC Act 1923, where it is clearly defined what is the multiplication, how much has to be compensated, what is the minimum wages, all those things is very, very clearly, expressly mentioned. So this liability will, for a workman, somebody is working and he is going in the insured vehicle, suddenly there is an accident, so the compensation will be based on that. Now, damages to property belonging or being held by or under the control of insured or their family members. So what we are saying is that damages to the property, our own property, my vehicle comes and bangs to the compound wall, and the compound wall there is a damage. Those are not covered in this policy because that is my own property. It is within my property, this damages happen. Damages to bridge, viaduct, road, beneath or below the vehicle due to heavy weight of the vehicle. So, you overload the vehicle and there is a damage to the chassis. Chassis slowly cracks, and because of the chassis is bent, these damages are not covered. If you hit a bridge, a government bridge, and those things and all are not covered as per the policy terms and conditions. The company will pay cost and expenses if incurred only with a written consent. If you don't take a written consent, such cost which is incurred by the insured is also not payable. So these are all not liable. The section 3, what we are talking about is towing of disabled vehicle, which we have already discussed. The IV may be used for towing of any other disabled vehicle. This vehicle also can be used for towing any other disabled vehicles also. So there is a coverage. Any loss or damage to IV during such towing is covered, provided such towing is not being done for a hire and reward. So what we are saying here is, to quickly give an example for this, insured has got 2 vehicles. Now one of his vehicle has got a breakdown and it is not able to be moved. Now he's got another vehicle of his own, or he is borrowing it from somebody, or somebody is trying to help him. Such vehicle which is used for towing the disabled vehicle, during the towing, while he is towing the vehicle, if there is any damages to the insured vehicle, such damages are also covered. Say for example, he is using a towing rod and he is tying it to the rear portion of the vehicle. Now while towing the vehicle, due to heavy weight, the bumper and the entire towing hook is dismantled from the IV. Then such damages, to repair that, the insurance company, there is a coverage here. There is a specific coverage. Otherwise, in other vehicles, such towing provision is not given. Like you tow a private car with a private car and there is a damage, then it is not covered. The company is not liable for damage to such towed vehicle. The company will not compensate for the another disabled vehicle. The coverage is only for the towing vehicle which is insured. Okay. So it is very expressly, clearly mentioned. Now let's get into section 4, which is TPPD, compulsory PA coverage in package policy. So what we are saying is that the coverage is there up to PA is for the owner driver coverage which is there. So that is very, very clearly, and this third party property damage up to 7.5 lakhs it can be enhanced, which is what is mentioned. For PA for owner driver, 2 lakhs is the limit. In commercial vehicle also it is 2 lakh rupees. Okay, so that's the entire sum and substance of it. So this is what is about the commercial vehicle policy, package policy. Okay, this is just trying to test, what it is. So as per this session is concerned, what we have really, just to sum up what we have done. I don't know whether it was too fast for you to understand, but in case it is a little fast, I would suggest that you can go through this video again, once again, thrice. There's no harm in looking at this video, because there are slides which is there, you can understand from the slides also. Okay, a complete information about the policy. What are the perils which is covered? Perils is that we have seen accident due to external means, flood is a peril, inundation is a peril, theft, burglary. These are all called perils in insurance parlance. So therefore, I mean, for this I'm saying for those who have not worked in an insurance, who have not really got an opportunity there, for them I'm trying to explain. For those who have already worked in insurance, you yourself know what is the meaning of the perils and which will be excluded. What are the perils which is covered and which is excluded, we have seen. Broadly, categorization, we saw that for liability only policy, what is the scope of coverage for two-wheelers, private car and commercial vehicles. And liability only, legal liability for death, bodily injuries also we had discussed, we have seen that. Then in two-wheelers, private cars and commercial vehicles, CV is commercial vehicles. So what are the differences? We saw that we got 3 sections in a comprehensive policy, whereas in a commercial comprehensive policy, we saw there is a 4th section also. There are 4 sections. 3rd section saying towing of disabled vehicle. So that is another section which was there. PA cover is available across all the segments, or rather all this segment of vehicles, whether it is two-wheeler, four-wheeler or commercial vehicles. So broadly, yes, this is what we have seen. So yeah, so we have discussed about the scope, which is very, very important. In the forthcoming or the next video which we will be getting into, we'll see how a OD accident is investigated. What are the points which needs to be taken while investigating? What are the groundworks has to be done before even you are going into a field and start investigating and interrogating and doing all these things. What are the tools which can be used is something which can be also seen. The tools which is being used for investigation, and what should be our body language, the way we should behave. These are certain things which will be discussed in the forthcoming videos. We will take this as a capsule because we cannot go more than 45 minutes or 1 hour. It will be too boring. Thank you.